Simple Studios originally started as Simple Prints, and it started whilst I was studying towards my bachelor's degree at university. And I studied landscape architecture, and what we did was we would put our like designs into a lifelike perspective, and I decided to do like a really graphic style portrayal or render, as they're called, of my design. And so I started taking photos of my friends and then recreating them into these 2D images of them. And we were just amazed that without any of their facial features or definitions, that it still looked exactly like them, so you could easily tell. So yeah, I guess I'd always just had a real interest in business aspects and different innovative ways I could make money. And I worked really hard at university, so I had a part-time job, I tutored, and then I started Simple Prints, which at the time I thought was really cool. It was good to work as hard as I possibly could and make as much money as I possibly could, which looking back on it, I don't regret. I love that I did that, but yeah, it meant that I would spend a lot of my time learning the ins and outs of business, and obviously no one had really like walked the path of starting their own business whilst at university, or anyone in my close circle at the time. So yeah, that's where Simple Studios essentially really began. And then I think the real pivotal time then came, you know, you go through leaving university and you've just spent, I ended up doing a bachelor's, and then I was told that, you know, a master's is paramount for getting the right job with my degree. And so that's, you know, I did another 2 years. So I spent 5 years at university, which I had a great time. I met some really good friends, lifelong friends and stuff like that. And definitely, you know, did what I wanted to do. And I still love landscape architecture as well. But yeah, so then it was kind of like, okay, well, now to put into practice what you've done with your degree, and you've just spent all this time, energy, a lot of money, you know, you now have to go out and find that good job. And that's what I did. I did well. I was really surprised with myself, actually. I went out and I got a job in a big corporate engineering firm as a graduate landscape architect. But then I had always, even going out looking for this job, I had always kind of had it in the back of my head, oh, well, what if I really just pursued Simple Prints and sort of looked at what that could become? And so that's kind of what I was like choosing against or going with and to and fro about, is what if I did just see what Simple Prints could become? But then, you know, with society and what's kind of expected of you when leaving university is that you need to use your degree that you've just worked so hard to achieve. So that went on the back burner, and I said, okay, yeah, no, successful. I've got to be successful. I've got to get this good job. And I'd done that. So anyway, I worked at this job for 3 months. And then our level 4 lockdown hit here in Aotearoa, and that was a weird time for all of us. 3 days into our level 4 lockdown, my mum suddenly passed away, and then that really put life into perspective for me and what I thought success really was. And yeah, the job I was at wasn't an environment where I was supported, valued, heard, understood. I was continually told that my degree didn't actually give me any skills. It just taught me how to learn, and I don't know anything. And so when you hear that over and over again, you start to really believe it. But I carried on. So I worked at that job for a year, and I was constantly thinking, oh, like, could I really just take the leap and dive into fully committing to this passion that I have full time? Like, is that something that's viable? And I don't know, having a guaranteed income going to something that you have no idea whether it's going to work or not was obviously something that played in my mind a lot. But yeah, the work environment just got worse and worse, and it was just not what it was causing me more stress and anxiety than it was causing me any value in terms of what I'd studied to do and that I thought is what I loved. So I took the leap. I handed in my resignation a month before Christmas, and so I finished up just before Christmas. So that was nice. I actually took some time off. So in January, I went and visited my brother. He got a job on Mercury Island, so he works as the farm manager over there. So I went and spent time with him, and I just kind of, went back to what life actually was about. And as I learned, it can end in a real quick instant. So it was, put life into a good perspective in terms of what do I value and why do I value that. And so a big part of that was family, memories, good friends, and then business. And I loved running a business and how I can look at growing a business and what it can offer. And so then that's where Simple Studios really came into what it is now. And it's a place for women to really value themselves and their work. So at the forefront, it's an online retail store, but it's really about cultivating a community of creative women founded businesses where we can kind of learn, collaborate, and actually build our businesses in a long-term sustainable way so that, our health and our well-being doesn't get pushed under the rug, and we are putting ourselves first, but also holding each other accountable and making sure that what we're offering we love and we do it for a good reason, but it offers really beautiful handmade high quality products to customers. So transitioning from full-time work and a guaranteed income, I kind of naively just fully went, I went fully from full-time to fully self-employed. And I kind of thought that was good because I had run Simple Prints for years prior, so a couple of years prior. And so I knew the income that could generate. But what I didn't realize or think of at the time is that actually changing my name from Simple Prints to Simple Studios, the disassociation that came with that from past customers and past revenue was actually it took way more of effect than I expected it would have. And so building that back up, so Simple Studios is obviously now an overarching platform for creative women and their products. And so Simple Prints has come underneath that as now Inkling. And so that was actually a really big, that took a really big effect on the consistency of revenue from that source of income. So I think in hindsight, I would have either actually just started a fresh Instagram called Simple Studios and then kept Simple Prints as is, and then educated the followers or customers around that name change to Inkling rather than just doing the quick rip the band-aid off. And I think the other big thing transitioning was actually having so much time. So you go to work 8:30 to 5, and even though at my previous job I wasn't actually getting given much work, I was still in an environment where I was expected to look as though I was working or I was productive. Whereas when it's just you and you're fully self-employed, you've got all this time to kind of do what you want and no one's telling you to look busy. So that was a really big adjustment for me. And I think what I've learned and going forward and now doing it for at least 6 or 7 months has been actually scheduling in consistent things and routines for myself throughout the week. So I know on every Monday and Wednesday is when I ship out products. I know on Tuesdays, that's when I have a meeting with another girl who I collaborate with on a consistent basis. And so I know that those things are always happening throughout the week. So that's been a real help for me. Since losing mum, my I guess mental health took a huge hit, and then obviously having to work in this unsupportive environment was just a shit show, really. And so I wasn't when you, well, this has been my experience in grief, but when you lose someone, you're sleeping, you don't sleep. And yeah, that just the reality doesn't kick in for months and months. And so she passed on the 29th of March in 2020, and I would say only in the past month and a half I've actually gotten my sleep routine back to somewhat normality. So as a result, I didn't really have any morning routine. I would kind of never really wake up. I wasn't really looking after myself as such. But this kind of goes into another question that we're going to touch on around personal development and self-development. And so a big change that's actually then happened in the past few months is I've been on a high-performing women's course with Untapped with Bryony. And so it's an 8-week self-development course where it's targeted for high-performing women, and we just dive into a whole lot of different, I guess, things that daily struggles that you have, but how you rewire your mindset towards it, and then how you refocus. And obviously it goes into a whole bunch of stuff, but that's been a really big change, and it's actually made me think I need to prioritize myself in order to offer the best to the people around me and what I'm offering. And so that's been a real big mindset shift. And now I normally wake up at 6:37 now, and I'll have good breakfast, and then I'll always clear my emails in the mornings. And then, as I said, Monday and Wednesday I'm shipping out products. Tuesday I'm printing, inkling illustrations, and then Fridays are my sort of growth self-development days, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are my creative content creation days. In the past, I hadn't really thought too much on self-development type of thing. I think, again, I always go back to mum passing, but she was always someone who put others first, and I think in reality that kind of led her to not prioritize herself and her needs. And so that was like a kicker, but also just my environment and who I was around. And I have, in a very unlucky, lucky way, 2 of my best friends' mums have also passed away. So they really understand, what it's like to lose someone close to you. But one of my good friends, actually, she had done this Untapped self-development high-performing women's course. And she was like, you need to do it. It will really help you get out of self-doubt and, what you're stressing about. Because that was the biggest thing with Simple Studios and going full-time. Because when it was Simple Prints and it was at uni and I was already doing so many other things, I didn't allow myself as much time to overthink or worry about whether it was really good or, it was what it needed to be, because I was already generating other income from my part-time job and my tutoring. And so even if, some weeks were slower than others, that didn't matter because I always had that consistency. So going full-time into Simple Studios and then not having, that guaranteed consistent income really threw on the self-doubt. And I was like, oh no, am I really making the right decision here? Because although my heart was in it and I absolutely love what I'm doing, was it getting what it needed to be successful? And so anyway, she said, you know, you've got to just do this course, and it's not cheap. It's like $2,500 for an 8-week course, but once you're in it, you don't go back, because I've actually signed up now to her 3-month Ascension self-development course, which delves more into leadership and prioritizing how you can give your best self so that the people around you can get that too and leverage off that, and things start to align, and really abundance sort of mindsets. And yeah, so the biggest thing so far I've learned from being in this course is you can't do it all. And if I'm not so now on my to-do list at the start of the day, so there's 2 things with my to-do list at the start of the day. I do the one big thing, and once that one big thing's done, I actually celebrate that, and I say that that's a good day. You've done the one thing that you set out to do today, rather than going, oh, you've only done that one thing on your to-do list. And so that's how I now measure my day. And then the second big thing is that I'll look at my to-do list and I'll go, okay, what do I need help with on this list? What am I not an expert in, and who can I get that is an expert that can help me on it? And so that's really opened up so many doors. I'm now talking to lawyers, marketing experts, accountants, and that's where the magic's really like feeling like it's all coming together, because they've done their degrees and they've honed their crafts for a reason and a purpose. So just because I run my business doesn't then all of a sudden make me an expert accountant, lawyer, marketing manager, all of these things. So yeah, that's been the biggest thing. As you ask that question, what comes straight to my head is just 3 really impactful women I've had in my life. And as you probably already could pick up from now, is my mum, her sister, my auntie, and actually my boyfriend's mum. And so these 3 women they've always been women who have been, I'd say, probably quite stubborn. I don't know if they would like to hear that, but pretty stubborn women, and women who just kind of stick to their guns and know what they want and go out and do it. So yeah, I guess I'd say they inspire me. I think it would probably tie into where I touched on it in the self-development question. It would be to seek help where you're not an expert in, and just ask for help wherever you can. Literally look at your to-do list and go, okay, who can help me with that? And then send out an email to 3 different people in that industry. Or because I think there's this expectation or some sort of society standard that because you're running your own business, you should be an expert in all areas. But I think that just in reality leads you to burnout. Not how much money I'm making, but how much presence I've had in a day. So how many genuine conversations I've had with people, how many things I've added in value to my business in terms of its growth or how it's expanded. And obviously, I think I used to hear people say, oh, it's all good and well to be focused on being happy, but at the end of the day, you do need money and I agree that you do need money to take away the stress, because I think that's been also a big thing with taking the leap, going full time with not really slowly culling down my hours at my job and ripping the band-aid off fully. I think that caused a big stress money wise, and it made me work a whole lot harder and overworked a whole lot more than I probably needed to have, when in reality I could have, as I've said, just asked for help. So short answer, success I think is based on your memories, because that's all you really have, and the experiences.